Matt Wilson here, back with another video. This video is Where is America in Bible Prophecy? And the last video was the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. In the last video, I talked about how Isaiah 17, where Israel destroys its neighbors, leads to the destruction of America within a year, probably the next spring. And so this is going to kind of point out some other verses along the same lines. So America is not mentioned in the Bible because it's taken out early, and so this video is about that. Okay, so a couple of verses: Daniel 7:4, the condition before the obliteration; Daniel 7:5, the obliteration. We've already talked about Isaiah 17 and 18, but for sure I'm going to go a lot more into 18 here and some into 17. And then seal 3 and 4 are just a repeat. And so one of the things to remember is just because I point out, well, this is what I think it is, doesn't mean that's the only option. Some of these verses are vague enough that they could be several different things. We can't know for sure. So let me continue. Okay, so now Daniel 7 in chapter 2. Now, a lot of people think that that's just a rehash of the Nebuchadnezzar statue here with the Babylonian Empire, Medo-Persian Empire, Greek Empire, and Roman Empire. But you could also interpret it as present day. So let's take a look at that. Vision of the four beasts, Daniel 7:4. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I watched till his wings were plucked off, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand on 2 feet like a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And then in Daniel 7:5, and suddenly another beast, a second like a bear, it was raised up on one side and had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. And they said thus to it, Arise, devour much flesh. So even though it could be a few different things, possibly a rehash of Nebuchadnezzar's statue, I'm going to look at this as the possibility that it could be America. Now, obviously the symbol for America is an eagle, but it came from England, so one could argue that when you have a line with eagle's wings, it could be America. I'm not saying it is, but it could be. What about if its wings were plucked off? It seems to me that this is about power projection weakened, and now how would that work in real life? How would you weaken it? So for example, big reduction in the U.S. nuclear arsenal, which has taken place. Also, because of military sequestration, the military was greatly weakened, and now analysts are saying that if America had to go against Russia or China, that it could possibly lose. And then it was made to stand on 2 feet like a man. Well, if you take a lion and make him stand on 2 feet like a man, he's destabilized. Right? He's not going to be able to stand very well because he's not used to standing like that. So this particular country is destabilized. The next question is, a man's heart was given to it. So then I asked, well, what heart did it have before? What are the options? So if you look at so I'm saying that this is religion, and so the options are, well, you could have various flavors of men's hearts, various religions. So it could swap out a man's heart for a man's heart. Another option would be Christianity. It could swap out the heart of God for the heart of man. And then another option would be the heart of angels. And when I say angels, I really mean demons. That would be Islam. And so I just want you to think for a second. since Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are both Abrahamic religions, so there's some kind of spiritual component that kind of binds all three together, but yet Islam is completely different or substantially different than Christianity and Judaism. And so here's the question: if you're God, why would you run Islam in parallel with Christianity? Wouldn't you want to, if Christianity has gone off track, wouldn't you want to wipe those countries out and then just start fresh with Islam? Why would you run them in parallel? So that's just something to think about. So what I'm saying is that if it's today, you swap the heart of God for the heart of man. But if it was at Nebuchadnezzar's time, you would be swapping the heart of man for another heart of man. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense to me. Daniel 7:5, a nation rises up. So then after 7:4, so 7:4 describes the condition of the United States, where you have, a weakened military, it's destabilized, and then a new heart, basically a new religion, that would be the religion of equality, is now the dominant force in the United States today. Even though Christianity still exists, the religion of equality is the dominant force. And so that describes the condition of the U.S. today. And then, well, now we look at Daniel 7:5, and it says, okay, so it's a bear. Well, that could be Russia. It's raised up on one side, and I think that implies that it's in a weakened state, and had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. So what's that all about? And I'm saying that it's 3 nations or peoples that were destroyed, and they want revenge. So something happened, and they're asking Russia to enact revenge, get revenge for us. So that means 7:4 and 7:5 are about the current day. And so, for example, let's see, Daniel 7:5 could be Isaiah 17. That's the 3 ribs. That's where you get the 3 ribs part. So Israel wipes out Syria, Lebanon, and the Gaza Strip, and you get the 3 ribs. And then following that, you get Isaiah 18. And Isaiah 18 would be Daniel 7:5. Okay, so here's Isaiah 17. This one's a little bit more straightforward. Damascus is destroyed. The burden against Damascus, behold, Damascus will cease being a city, and it will be in a ruinous heap. Now notice, however, for that, Israel will pay a price. So after this, Israel will suffer. In that day it shall come to pass that the glory of Jacob will wane, and the fatness of his flesh will grow lean. So basically, Israel will suffer after that. And then here's another one, Amos 1, which basically this is on Isaiah 17. So for 3 transgressions of Damascus, and for 4, I will not turn away its punishment. Meaning after, I'm saying that on the 4th war, that Isaiah 17 will take place. And right now, Syria and Lebanon are in war number 3. And so the next war will be, a big war where Israel's neighbors get wiped out. Now here's Isaiah 18, where I'm saying that this is where America gets wiped out. But if you look in the Bible, it's about Ethiopia. So it's about Ethiopia getting wiped out. The problem I have with that is that, well, first of all, it says all inhabitants of the world and dwellers on the earth. So basically, everybody on the planet, stop what you're doing and pay attention to this. Now, does that sound like it's going to be for Ethiopia? And when he lifts up a banner on the mountains, you see it. And when he blows a trumpet, shofar, you hear it. And so what I'm saying is that this is when Israel takes the mountains of the West Bank in Isaiah 17, and this chapter comes into play. And so the chapter's kind of split into four parts. The warning, the sign aftermath, and then timing of obliteration. So now let's take a look at it. Okay, so here's the warning part. Woe to the land shadowed with buzzing wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, which send ambassadors by sea, even in vessels of reed on the waters, saying, Go swift messengers to a nation tall and of smooth skin, to a people terrible from their beginning onward, a nation powerful and treading down, whose land the rivers divide. So from this information, okay, so we can't know what nation they're talking about. They say beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. You know, the rivers of Ethiopia go pretty far away. They go up to Egypt. So if you're talking far away, you know, it doesn't. I think that doesn't mean Ethiopia. And so the question is, well, could it be another African country or something different? So yeah, let's continue. So that was the original warning. Now the sign. Okay, this is what we need to look for to put this chapter in play. All inhabitants of the world and dwellers on the earth. For so the Lord said to me, I will take my rest, and I will look for my dwelling place, like clear heat and sunshine, like a cloud of dew in the heat of harvest. Now notice I said, when you see harvest, that's a red flag. And in my last video on the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, the harvest is, you know, some kind of nuclear event. And here we have a cloud of dew in the heat of a harvest. So let's say you have a grape with a little bit of dew on it, and then the sun comes up, you know, that's going to be vaporized, that little bit of dew. And so that kind of fits some kind of nuclear event right here. For before the harvest, when the bud is perfect and the sour grape is ripening in the flower, he will both cut off the sprigs with pruning hooks and take away and cut down the branches. So this is the sign. This is not, you know, the woe that's talked about in Isaiah, the first part of Isaiah 18. This is a sign that the woe is coming. And then the aftermath. Okay, so from part 2, the sign. Now the aftermath of that sign, they will be left together for the mountain birds of prey and for the beasts of the earth. And the birds of prey will summer on them, kind of implying, does this take place in the summer? Maybe. Or else the spring. And all the beasts of the earth will winter on them. So then that kind of implies, okay, that if something's going to happen, it's going to be in the spring. Now, here's the last verse in Isaiah 18. In that time, a present will be brought to the Lord of hosts from a people tall and smooth of skin, and from a people terrible from their beginning onward, a nation powerful and treading down, whose land the rivers divide, to a place of the name of the Lord of hosts, to Mount Zion. I'm saying that's the Temple Mount. So here we have, now just think about this for a second. Based on what we just covered, all of a sudden, the Bible wants to cut to somebody bringing a gift to the Temple Mount. Why do we care about a gift? It has seemed to have nothing to do with the rest of this chapter. It's just something out of the blue they just plop down on paper. Now what I want to argue is that when you see this, when you see this event, this powerful country, which I'm claiming is America, after Israel wipes out its neighbors, and then probably the following spring, America will bring a present to the Temple Mount. I'm saying that on that day, that America will be destroyed. So you can watch the news, right? So if this is going to happen, well, obviously you'll know when Israel nukes its neighbors. But then this particular event where America's going to bring a present to the Temple Mount, that'll be in the news. We'll know the day. Now I'm thinking that it's probably going to be May 14th, but I don't know. That's just a guess because that's the day Israel was founded on, the modern Israel. It's May 14th, but yeah, we'll be able to see this in the news. So yeah, I think I pretty much covered this. So then seals 3 and 4. So seal 3 is just Isaiah 17 and Amos 1. And then seal 4 is the obliteration of America. Isaiah 18 is seal 4, obliteration of America. And 18 and 17 are tied together. One causes the other. Seal 3 is tied to seal 4. Seal 3 causes seal 4. And that's it.